Joining us now to provide some insight on this debate is food policy professor Sylvain Charlebois with Dalhousie University. Professor, first of all, what is your initial reaction to seeing that package of chicken breasts for $37?
Well, I mean, it's hard to look at one price on one product and figure out what factors may have contributed to a higher price. It seems as excessive, but there are other locations where chicken is also more expensive these days. There are several factors at play affecting poultry prices and eggs, by the way. The avian flu is one of them. Distribution costs have also gone up in recent months. But the avian flu is the big one. We had to call well over 5 million birds in this country. So all birds that really never reach the market. And that's why I suspect that in some cases we're seeing supply chain issues or supply chain pressures impacting retail prices.
In 2022, Loblaws reported its third quarter profits rose about 30% compared to a year ago. How can we tell when prices are rising because of inflation or because of corporate greed?
Well, we actually looked into the matter ourselves, and I did testify before Parliament about a month ago, showing our reports on the so-called greedflation phenomena. And we looked at Metro, Empire Sobeys, and Loblaws, and all three did post consistent margins. Now, amounts have gone up, obviously, and that's why a lot of people are talking about record profits. But margins have actually remained somewhat the same, between 2 to 4% over the last 7 years. So we really failed to see any signs of abuse or things like that. However, we have encouraged grocers to report food sales separate from other areas of their business, like cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, because they do make a lot of money selling prescription drugs, clothing, and things like that.
Now, the Bank of Canada has been steadily increasing interest rates, but is this really helping to combat inflation when the average Canadian is still paying ridiculous prices for basic necessities?
Eventually it will. Eventually it will help. We are expecting the Bank of Canada's work, if you will, to have an impact on the economy later in the year. It's too soon to really see any sort of major effects right now. Since November of 2021 in Canada, the food inflation rate has exceeded the general inflation rate, which is why a lot of people are still spooked at the grocery store. But we do believe that that's going to end sometime in the spring or early summer. That being said, if you leave your house without knowing how much you should be paying for certain products, you're going to be a vulnerable shopper. You need to know that. You need to know the information before you show up at the grocery store. And if a product is too expensive, just walk away and buy something else. There are good deals out there. At the meat counter, I would suggest to look for pork. If you like pork, if you eat pork, pork is a good deal right now, but nobody's talking about it.
Never leave home without that shopping list. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Sylvain Charlebois with Dalhousie University.
My pleasure.